You walk into a massive commercial space, maybe like an 80-screen sports bar or some sprawling corporate headquarters, and, well, everything just works.
Right, it's totally seamless.
Exactly. The video is perfectly synced, the audio is flawless, and it all feels a bit like magic. But the secret trapdoor behind that magic trick, it usually comes down to, one tiny piece of hardware doing the heavy lifting in the shadows.
Yeah, those invisible little nodes.
Right. And today, our mission on this deep dive is to look at specs from an HDTVSupply product page for the QSC SPA QF two-channel network amplifier.
I know, it's quite a mouthful.
It really is. So we want to figure out how these invisible, localized pieces of hardware actually fit into massive audio-visual networks. So what does this all mean?
Well, it basically comes down to smart network architecture.
Yeah, think of a bustling restaurant kitchen. Like, if a massive Wolfpack matrix switcher is the executive chef routing all the grand orders, this little QSC amplifier is the highly specialized line cook doing the localized heavy lifting right at the station.
It's a really solid analogy, but let's push it further because this line cook doesn't just cook. Yeah, they can instantly become a waiter or a dishwasher if the software demands it.
Wait, really? Just instantly changing roles?
Completely. When we examine complex QSYS networks, the goal isn't just, throwing raw, massive power at every single room. It is all about right-sizing your equipment.
Right-sizing. Got it.
Right. We want to avoid information overload today by focusing not on stadium rattling volume, but on pure utility, having exactly the right tool in the right place to make the centralized system run efficiently.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm looking at the specs, and they say this amplifier puts out 60 watts per channel, or 120 watts bridged if you're using 70-volt or 100-volt lines.
Right, the high-voltage lines.
Yeah, for anyone who isn't, wiring commercial buildings every day, those are just high-voltage lines used to daisy-chain a bunch of speakers over really long distances without losing the signal.
Exactly. They're super common in commercial setups.
But still, if this amp is only 60 watts natively, isn't that totally underpowered for the massive multi-screen sports bars HDTVSupply usually outfits?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the low wattage is entirely intentional.
Really? How so?
It's about endpoint utility, not raw stadium volume. The real superpower of this device is its Flex I/O feature.
Flex I/O, like flexible input-output.
Yeah, exactly. Those two channels are completely software definable.
Wait, how does an analog audio port just change its physical function on the fly?
So inside the amp, there isn't a hardwired one-way circuit like you'd find in an old home stereo receiver. Instead, software gates control the signal flow.
Oh, okay. So it's all controlled digitally behind the scenes.
Right. Within the network software, you can flip a digital switch, and those gates instantly reverse direction in milliseconds.
That is wild.
It is. 1 second, they're line-level outputs pushing audio to speakers. A moment later, they toggle to act as mic or line inputs.
And it can even supply 48-volt phantom power, right?
Yes, exactly. It's literally sending electrical current back up the cable to power professional studio microphones.
Ah, so it changes its job based on what the executive chef needs in that exact moment.
Precisely.
Like, you need to power a couple of ceiling speakers for background music. It outputs. You suddenly need to take input from a podium microphone for an impromptu presentation. It instantly flips to an input.
You nailed it. This allows the centralized processors to connect across dozens of smaller spaces efficiently.
Without needing to install massive, expensive amplifier racks in every single room.
Exactly. But, specs on a page are one thing. The real puzzle is how this physically interacts with the room.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting. Because physically, this amp is designed to be invisible.
Highly stealthy.
Exactly. It has a tiny half-rack, 1 RU footprint, meaning it takes up just a single 1.75-inch slot in a standard equipment rack.
And crucially, it uses convection cooling.
Right. It dissipates heat naturally through its chassis.
Which means there are no noisy, whirring fans.
None at all. It just sits silently under a conference table or behind a TV, acting like a quiet nervous system node hidden in the walls.
And, well, a nervous system needs sensory organs. That is where the GPIO pins come in.
Right, general purpose input-output pins.
Yeah, they let the amp read and react to the physical environment.
So it's not just audio?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are looking at a fundamental shift in AV architecture. Hardware is evolving to bridge the gap between merely passing digital audio and actively controlling physical environments.
Can you give an example of that? Like, how does that look in a real room?
Sure. Let's say someone presses a physical mute button on a boardroom table.
Okay, I can picture that.
The GPIO pin reads that electrical change, sends the data over the network to the central processor, which then mutes the audio and sends a signal back to turn the LED on that physical button red.
Oh, wow. It basically makes the physical room an extension of the software.
Exactly.
So why does this matter to you? Because whether you are looking at upgrading a home theater setup, designing a corporate boardroom, or wiring a massive commercial matrix switcher, understanding this concept is key.
Absolutely. Knowing how small, software-definable endpoints interact with centralized systems is the absolute secret to modern, future-proof AV design.
Completely agree.
And honestly, this raises an important question. If hardware like this amplifier is now entirely software-definable on the fly, what happens when our physical spaces can completely reconfigure their audiovisual identities with a single click?
Yeah, just by telling the line cook to swap stations, you could turn a quiet dining room into a roaring sports bar, all through software.
It is quite a thought to chew on.
It really is a wild thought to leave off on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.